everybody? Welcome back to the Bay Bolts channel. Unfortunately, we have to talk about a Lightning loss, their first OT loss of the season. Welcome back to another Quick Strikes episode for Michael Wax, Jake Ricker, my co-host with me. Jake, a pretty disappointing, anticlimactic end to the game, but overall, we're happy to get a point. How you doing tonight?
Yeah, anytime you battle a team 0-0 all the way through, hard fought 60 minutes basically, and then lose a quick one in OT, it's always a that's always a tough loss to take. Very unfortunate, but you're right. The Lightning got a point, which as they say all the time in the regular season, is very important. It's always nice to get at least a point. So it wasn't all for nothing in this loss. So lots to like, lots of things to not like in this game, and I can't wait to get into it.
Yeah, and again, we're going to start with the negatives. We want to accentuate the positives. We want to end this video on the positive because, again, if you're not positive, then really, what's the point of watching the Tampa Bay Lightning? Because we've been through both the positives and the negatives with this team. Let's talk first about the OT goal. We'll get right into it. Jake, you and I watched this goal. Victor Hedman, Tyler Johnson, Andre Palat all on the ice at the same time. Jordan Stahl, Dougie Hamilton, and Martin Nikas on the ice for the Carolina Hurricanes. The Hurricanes did not allow the Lightning to touch the puck in overtime, and they get rewarded with the OT goal. It seemed like Hedman had picked up his man, but the forwards had some really lackluster defense. I think the team defense was the biggest negative in this game. I'm interested to hear what you think.
Yeah, when I went back and watched this play again, because you always got to take a second look at some things. Things happen so fast, especially in 3-on-3 overtime. But, Hedman was basically defending a 2-on-1 despite having both Palat and Johnson right there. Personally, I thought this goal was a lot more on Andre Palat on this one. It seemed to me like he kind of just let his guys skate right by him, and that was what set up the 2-on-1 and gave him a golden opportunity to put that puck at the back of the net, which he did. So I thought Andre Palat, all he needed to do was step up there and make a play on his guy, and maybe we're still going in this game. Maybe the Lightning would have won. And don't get me wrong here, I love Andre Palat. He's a fantastic player for the Bolts, and I'm sure these guys were exhausted at this point, but you got to play the full game. You can't let up for even a second, or something like that is going to happen. Tyler Johnson probably also could have hustled up a little bit. He was a little further back on the play though. So the biggest problem for me though on this was Andre Palat. I thought he could have stepped up there and tried to make a little bit of a more effort, but then again, these things do happen. So
Yeah, I think we can say that about every single player is that we love these guys. We want these guys to succeed. They're also open to criticism. We love Andre Palat. Come on, he's open to some criticism. If Vasilevsky has a bad night, we'll get to Vasilevsky. He is gonna get criticized. Coach Cooper calls a bad game plan, he's gonna get criticized. It really depends on how these players perform. They're open to criticism, every single one of them. Although we want every single one of them to do well. I think another thing that we need to talk about, which sort of ties in with Tyler Johnson, that second line looked really poor. And I don't know what it was, but Alex Killorn took a penalty in this one, a horrible penalty that canceled out a power play. Anthony Cirelli looked off. Tyler Johnson was given opportunity after opportunity, and he also looked off. I don't know what is going on. I know that Cirelli missed a shift early in the first period. Maybe he's dealing with some sort of nagging injury, but that line is really, really off to start the beginning of the season.
yeah, well, you mentioned Sorelli possibly having a nagging injury. That honestly wouldn't surprise me because I believe I could be wrong here, but when we played Columbus, he took a couple hard spills into the boards in overtime as well. So I wouldn't be surprised if he had a nagging injury. But yeah, I, this could be just a very perfect storm of these guys all being in little slumps right now. Things aren't just going well. It is still very early in this season. This season's going to be crazy and very different. So hopefully they can get out of that funk. Johnson's had his opportunities. Maybe this is a Yanni Gord situation for Tyler Johnson. Where if you remember last year, Yanni Gord was in a funk for who knows how long. He was in there for a very long time and was finally able to break that streak and then start to get things going. So maybe, hopefully, this is what we're seeing for Tyler Johnson and he can get out of it and get back into the swing of things. But Luckily though for the Lightning, there are a lot of lines that are doing very well, and there are some positives to that whole line situation. But hopefully they can get out of this funk quickly. Another iffy game for them.
Yeah, and the last negative that we want to touch on, I know the penalty kill was perfect, but man, I don't know whether or not it was because of the lackluster speed, the inability to clear the puck, or the fact that Carolina's power play is actually really good. This might be one of those situations where you need to commend them for such a fantastic power play, being able to make those precision passes, making Vasilevsky make some unbelievable saves. The penalty kill did not look that great in this game. And I think it's a one game thing. These power play and penalty kills, you take them one game at a time. This one, it really felt like when they got challenged, because let's be frank, Chicago and Columbus, their power plays are nowhere near Carolina's. It really felt like that when they got challenged with Carolina's power play, they did not step up to the occasion.
Right, and that's the important thing to remember here is that Carolina is a very good team, one of the better teams in the division. These games are going to be tough and close. We may even split this series with Carolina at the end of the day. They're a great hockey team, so they definitely deserve some credit. I think the penalty kill also does deserve some credit because they did successfully kill them all off at the end of the day, which is always good. But you're right, they did look a little discombobulated. I think a lot of the reason they were able to kill off those penalties was probably due to Vasilevsky, who was absolutely stellar into this game. We'll get to him in just a minute, but uh, I think for the most part, the penalty kill this season has been very good. So it's not a too much of a huge concern for me, but you're right to point out that it did seem like things just weren't flowing perfectly for them tonight. I also do want to mention too, Michael, as well, the power play. Even though not having too many chances to get to work, uh, obviously no goals on the power play today. I didn't think they looked the best either. That's one thing I'd still like to see them improve on this season, especially throughout this year. Obviously, still struggling without Nikita Kucherov, still trying to find the right way to work with that. But I think one thing that could really help out the Bolts this season, it seems like getting that power play going because they did not play a terrible game today. They had a bad period, they had some good periods, as you do in every game. But I thought if they could have had that power play going, that could have been a huge benefit to them in this game, obviously, especially when you have a 0-0 game heading into overtime.
Yeah, absolutely. The special teams kind of struggled today. Again, I think it's a game by game basis. Maybe they come back against Nashville and they are absolutely dominant on both ends. It really depends. So, we can't wait to see what they do against Nashville to correct those negatives. But we got to talk about the positives in this game. We'll get to the big positive in a second. But Jake, you and I talked about this game after the game had ended. And the first thing that we talked about, besides the big positive, was Matthew Joseph. Joseph has been slotted into that fourth line center position now that Mitchell Stevens is injured. And basically, what we said was, wow, this kid looks amazing. Like, we've talked about him positively in probably every single game so far. He's been a revelation, being able to get open, being able to get some scoring chances, set Patrick Maroon up with a beautiful feed. Unfortunately, Maroon was not able to uh, put that past Peter Mrazek, but ultimately, like, he looked like he didn't want the Lightning to miss a beat with Mitchell Stevens out. Face-off wise, don't really have the numbers, but it didn't seem like he was all that great compared to Stevens. But otherwise, he basically filled in the Mitchell Stevens role.
Joseph was fantastic, and he's been fantastic this entire year. You can, like I've said multiple times in these past couple of videos, he looks like you can tell that he wants to be there. He wants to make a name for himself. He wants to show the coaches that he deserved to be up there, and so far he has done that by you know by spades. I was someone who was really critical on Matthew Joseph last year. I thought he struggled a lot and had a lot of issues, but he has clearly fixed those issues and done a fantastic job so far. And it's only a matter of time before he continues to, start scoring some goals and breaking out. Could just be a factor of the line that he's on, not able to generate that chemistry just quite yet. But Joseph looks great. I love what to see. I hope we continue to see more of this, and hopefully we only can see him continue to improve.
Yeah, and there was a lot of talk about after the Mitchell Stevens injury. Do you put Tyler Johnson on the fourth line at center position? Do you call it Jamel Smith possibly? Coach Cooper, for all the criticism that he gets, made a very smart decision. He said, you know what, this guy hasn't played very much center at the AHL or at the NHL level, and we're going to put him back there. And he was fantastic. And Brian Engblom said on commentary, uh, being a center gives you more opportunities to get open. And I think Joseph took full advantage of that. But, we've been building this up over and over again in this video. The big positive of the day, Andre Vasilevsky. What a game. 35 saves on 36 shots. The only shot that went past him was the OT winner, in which he had no defensive help. He made some unbelievable saves, like highlight reel saves in the same game. I would put two or three of those on his year-end highlight reel. He had that unbelievable save on Stahl. He had that great save on Svechnikov, where it looked like he for sure scored. Vasilevsky kicked it out with his leg and flipped over, and the puck went up in the air. Uh, the franchise guy, like I feel like we have to keep on saying it because people doubt Vasilevsky. No other guy in the league can do this, especially do it consistently like Andre Vasilevsky.
Michael, you're having a good game when the other team tweets out that, hey, can Bassey please stop making some of these saves? Because that's what they said. Carolina Hurricanes Twitter, they said about Vasilevsky, but he was fantastic, and he has, I wish I had some actual numbers here for you guys, but every time Bassey has a loss where he, struggles and you can tell he's very frustrated with himself, he always comes back out and plays his best game. It's seriously unbelievable. I mean, he would have had the shutout had the Lightning, maybe had some defensive help for him on that play and obviously scored the goal and won the game in this overtime. So he's just unbelievable. The way he can stretch and make some of these saves is absolutely unbelievable. He's I'm at a loss for words. It's very hard to describe how good Vasilevsky is, and he continues to be. He was a huge bright spot for the Lightning in this game. The guys in the locker room should absolutely be buying him a few beers to thank him for his performance tonight. And you can only hope that could continue, and can only expect it will. And they're going to need to continue too, Michael, because Curtis McElhinney is still on the COVID-19 list. So they do not have they do have a backup goaltender they can use, but it's someone from the AHL that hasn't really have any NHL experience. So he's going to need to continue to just play at that level.
Yeah, and you mentioned Curtis McElhinney. Today was day 14, as we're shooting this, I should say, was day 14 of Curtis McElhinney being on the COVID list. I would expect him to be taken off the COVID list before the next game against the Predators, unless he develops even more complications with what he's going through right now, because it does seem like he got COVID. We're not going to officially say anything or speculate, but he's been on the COVID list for long enough. Overall, though, you're right. Like they don't want to have to use Chris Gibson if they don't have to. It's not a dig against Chris Gibson, but he's not really NHL caliber to the same extent of Curtis McElhinney or Andre Vasilevsky. Vasi was great tonight. He was unbelievable. I mentioned a couple of times that Vasilevsky will do whatever he has to make sure that if it's a tie game or a one goal game, that it stays like that. Eventually he let up. He allowed a goal. It's not really one that I would criticize him for. Of oh, he should have had that or anything like that. Mistakes are bound to happen. Overall, a fantastic game from Vasilevsky. No doubt in my mind, the first star of the game. Uh, that'll do it for us on this edition of Quick Strike. Jake, do you have anything else before we wrap this up?
No, I think we summed it up pretty good for in this one. I hope you guys did enjoy this. Let us know in the comments too who you think was standout player from this game. And last thing I'll say too, Michael, is that listen, I know 2 losses is tough at the beginning of the season. You always want to try to get off to the best start possible. But the Lightning currently sit in second place in the Central Division right now, and they've only played 5 games. Most teams have played 7 or 8 at this point. So sitting in second place, only 5 games played is pretty good. So the Lightning are off to a a decent start. There's no reason to panic. It's way too early for that. This is going to be a long, long season. I know I keep saying it, but I think it's important to keep saying, and like I said, this battle between Carolina is going to be a lot of fun to watch. I'm very excited for the rest of the season. So hopefully we can jump back on the win column though when we take on the Predators.
Yeah, exactly. And we will be taking on the Predators on Saturday at 7 p.m. Currently, that game is going to be on the new Bally Sports Sun because Fox Sports has rebranded. So it'll be on Bally Sports Sun for those of you that are able to watch the game on your local cable provider. Guys, that'll do it for us for this episode of Quick Strike. Thank you so much for watching. Don't be afraid to like, share, and subscribe, and ring that bell for more notifications. Also, follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Bay_Bolt. Also, our Twitter is our most active page by far with news, notes, and game recaps every single game. For Jake Ricker, my name is Michael Wax. Guys, thank you so much for watching, and we will see you when the Lightning take on the Predators on Saturday. Thanks, guys. Go Bolts.